This is your hillbilly historian from East Tennessee, coming to you to give you some truth about the modern world. I don't look too modern myself, but my mind is still hopefully young and alert as it was the day I was born. And since I'm 81 years old, I've learned a lot about truth, reality, and facts. But anyway, I saw something last week I never thought I'd live to see. Something happened in Chicago last week with the Democrat Party that I never thought I'd live long enough to see happen in the good old USA. The Democrat Party was taken over by the Marxists, who have infiltrated their party to the point to where it is being controlled by a handful of Marxists. They nominated, well, actually, they didn't vote. They didn't nominate nor vote to nominate. They appointed a woman to be our next president, their candidate for president. They appointed her. They had no primaries, no debates. Nobody got to vote for her. They had a convention where she was not nominated, she was appointed. The delegates didn't even get to vote on her, or anybody, as a matter of fact. They appointed Waltz. No delegates got to vote for him. The Marxist Party took over the Democrat Party. Just like they took over Russia in St. Petersburg in 1917, which led to a horrific war between the Bolsheviks, the Reds, and the Whites, who were against the Marxist takeover of Russia. And they fought each other for 5 years. They created horrendous famine all across Europe. People had to resort to cannibalism to survive. It was one of the worst 5-year periods in the history of mankind. The Black Death wasn't even that evil. But that's what Marxists do. And then, in 1949 in Beijing, China, the Marxists took over that country. But Mao came to power. And ultimately that led to the deaths of many millions upon millions, tens of millions of Chinese people because of Marxism. And in Russia, after Lenin died, Stalin took over. He tried to nationalize farming, created a famine. Over 5 million people died of starvation because he tried to nationalize farming. He wanted to get rid of the kulaks who had been farming the black earth of Russia for thousands of years. They knew what they were doing, but he wanted bureaucrats to take over. And they didn't know crap about farming. And so millions upon millions died. That's what Marxism does. There's a book out there called The Black Book of Communism, written by 6 international journalists from several different countries who still have the integrity to write about the truth. And they wrote this huge volume called The Black Book of Communism, which accounts for the fact that Marxism caused over 250 million deaths in the 20th century alone. Now, the Democrat Party has been taken over by Marxists. They've done away with democracy. They've done away with debates. They've done away with primaries. They've done away with voting. And we're only one more election theft, just like in 2020 when they stole the election with 20 million fraudulent mail-in ballots. They're going to do the same thing in 2024. We're only one stolen election away from a Marxist takeover of the USA. Now, when they take over this country, are we going to have the Reds against the Whites like they had in Russia a little over 100 years ago? Are we going to end up killing each other? Blood everywhere? Armies taking everybody's food? Livestock? Are we going to have roving armies of Reds and roving armies of Whites taking everything and leaving the public out here to die of starvation? Are we going to have to resort to cannibalism the way they did in Russia after the Marxists took over? Because that is what happens when Marxism, socialism, progressivism, liberalism takes over. People suffer incredible amounts of pain and agony. You just cannot even imagine how bad it gets under Marxism. But we are like a runaway train going down these rails, and we're fixing to jump the rails because Marxists last week took over the Democrat Party. I bet Strom Thurmond and Senator Russell and those old Southern politicians, they have got to be spinning in their graves with what has happened to the old-time Democrat Party. They used to be loyal. They used to wave the flag. Democrats now, they boo a Christian who comes before them to give invocation at their convention, like they did under Hillary. They booed God. They booed Christianity. The next night they brought a Muslim in and they cheered him. The Democrat Party's gone to hell in a handbasket in this country, and there's so many people brainwashed because the Marxists now control the mainstream media. That's ABC, NBC, CBS, MSNBC, CNN, the Washington Post, the New York Times, Politico, Axios. All these groups are controlled by Marxists, and they are brainwashing the heck out of about half our country, and people don't have sense to see it. But hey, we are heading down this road toward Marxism, and we're one stolen election, because I do not believe there's enough Americans left in this country who are stupid enough to vote for the Democrat Party. They will have to steal that election. Because what has Kamala ever done for this country? She says she's going to do all this stuff. Well, why didn't she do it the last 4 years? Because she's totally incompetent and lazy and won't do a thing except for herself. And this Walsh guy she picked to be her running mate lies about his military service. That is called stolen valor. He lies about his military service. He lies about being a football coach. He lies about so much stuff. He and his wife kept the windows open while Minneapolis burned because they love the smell of their burning city. That's like Nero and Rome fiddling while Rome burned. We got the same crap taken over in this country. And we are allowing the barbarians to invade our country at our southern border by the millions. And this has got to stop. America has got to come to its senses, put a stop to these Marxists. I really believe we need FEMA camps set up to move these Marxists into and control them, because they are out to destroy our country. And believe me, folks, Marxism has to steal. Russia had to have gulags to harvest their natural resources because they didn't believe in private industry doing that. They have to have gulags. They have to have slave camps. And if we allow the Marxists to take over this country, they're going to steal everything until there's nothing left to steal. And then we're all going to have to go to work in slave camps to produce like Hitler did in the 1930s and 40s. He had work camps, slave camps, where you got fed just enough to be able to do your work. And if you weakened below that point, you were euthanized, put to death. Because under socialism, if a human is not worth using for their personal benefit, you will be euthanized and put to death. You know, one thing about the Democrat Party, after Roe v. Wade in 1973, they have murdered over 75 million of their own babies. Now think about that. If the Democrats had not murdered 75 million of their future voters, they wouldn't have to steal elections. They'd win hands down every election. But that's the stupidity of the left. They have no common sense. They never see the consequences of their actions. It's like Mao. Mao decided his population was growing too fast, so every family was limited to only one child. Now, under socialism, they don't look at the consequences. Mao did not look at the culture of his people, that families are male-driven. They do what the man of the family says to do. And with modern technology, they could tell whether the woman was going to have a baby girl or a baby boy. And if it was a girl, she was aborted. And until they had a male, then they would permit the male to be born. Well, the consequence of that is China has too many males now. They're having to send them to the Philippines for females and bring Filipino women into their country. Either that or all their boys are going to turn queer. And they never see the consequences of their actions. They never can see the future. It is amazing how ignorant the left truly is. And they love to think of themselves as progressives, as intelligent progressives. But they're really not. They always lead to evil. They always lead to terrible consequences. They always lead to death and destruction. Marxism should be eradicated from the planet Earth and go back to some good common sense by people who know what they're doing and know what they're talking about. But anyway, this is your hillbilly historian trying to give you some advice from the common sense logic of a hillbilly Appalachian East Tennessean. Signing off. Goodbye, folks.